Thank you for lasting all the way to the last session of the second day. I know it's a lot. It's information overload sitting through these 2 days. So hopefully you're retaining the right amount and have a little bit of space left, because there's still two very good stories, two stories that I have initiated on fairly recently and that I'm quite excited about. So we'll get to those in a moment. But first, I am just going to, I did my talk yesterday, which was my macro overview of sort of what I think is going on right now. What I want to just do quickly right now, and this will be quick, is go through the companies that are here that are in the Maven portfolio. So all the companies that are represented at the conference that I have bought and written about to my subscribers. They've obviously all already presented or will present shortly, but I like to sort of try and capture in a minute for each one what I think the heart of the story is, because again, this has been information overload, so this is just my crystallization of what I think the heart of each story is. And I'm doing them by type, so early explorers, advanced explorers, developers, miners, and just in alphabetical order. So I'm not playing favorites here, I'm just going through the ones that I own. So, Atomera, Mark presented yesterday, I believe. So this is obviously, this is a very prospective land package in a really accessible place. The exciting thing right now is that Atomera, perhaps somewhat frustratingly, I thought they were going to drill last year. I wanted them to drill last year. They didn't. But instead what they did was really good work identifying targets and testing them 6 ways from Sunday. So like each target has been tested 3 or 4 ways and has validated. So there's a lot of confidence going in that these targets could produce some very interesting gold numbers. Now this is in a historic gold district that sort of got forgotten, near a mill that Kinross owns that needs ore. So that, the strength of these targets is what's exciting about the Atomera story right now. Obviously also an inexpensive stock in terms of entry point. Erdene is one of these two companies sitting up here with me, who you will hear from shortly. Erdene is, I'd say, out of the companies here, perhaps the story that represents the excitement and potential with what is truly a new discovery. So this is gold exploration in Mongolia, and this is a company, a team that has decades of experience there, and this is the result of those decades of looking in Mongolia. The grades and widths that they're coming up with at these discoveries are really, really good and very consistent, and the latest results have shown that some of the zones that they know exist from surface continue undercover, so the scale is the question mark. The fact that there's really good gold there is already known. The scale is the question mark. So in terms of a discovery that could grow, in a truly new discovery that could grow, that's why I'm excited about Erdene. Eurasian, company that's been around a very long time, lots of you are probably quite familiar with it. Eurasian has a few defining characteristics. An incredibly strong technical team that has proven ability to set up shop anywhere in the world. If there's a geologic opportunity, Eurasian will figure out whether there's a capital opportunity, and if so, they'll make it happen. They really think through. So as a project generator, they don't retain stakes in projects, they retain royalties, which creates a much more streamlined portfolio that has the potential and current ability to generate cash flow for them. So they haven't raised money in 6 years. And they also do some strategic investments. Their 41% stake in IG Copper, which owns this massive porphyry in the Far East of Russia, alone could be an incredibly valuable opportunity. The specifics of that situation mean that that value could be crystallized quite soon. So Eurasian has a portfolio of interesting assets and a very clearly defined business plan for how to make those assets valuable for shareholders. Playfair, everybody remembers Playfair because Don Moore is just Don Moore. He comes up here and everybody remembers Don Moore's presentation, but that's good. Playfair is, of course, looking for the next Curragno, the Dalradian's great deposit, followed the structure, followed the rocks, where they're exposed. They've put holes in them. Every one of the holes hit structure and return gold. It's not an economic discovery yet, but it's rarely an economic discovery in the very first drill program that's ever been in this part of the world. So, still don't know, but the next set of drilling will basically give us a good idea whether this thing has the potential that we need it to have. And the prospectivity is apparent. So exciting as an early stage speculation in a new area that has some very good data starting to back it up. Terex. So Terex is the one advancing the Yellowknife City Gold Project. If you want a northern project, everyone worries about northern projects for accessibility and whatnot. This is right around Yellowknife. You can drive to everything. There's power everywhere, so don't worry about the northern aspect of it. The story here is 2 mines, very good mines, shut down because of labor and operational issues. The Yellowknife City Gold Project basically covers the rest of the trend in this area. There's gold occurrences everywhere. Some are sort of wider, lower grade zones, some are very high grade. There's a lot of targets here. No one has jumped out as being the thing, but there's a huge amount of potential and a very strong technical team that's advancing this. And then there's a whole South Belt second project down to the south where they literally haven't even started. So a lot of opportunities sitting untested in a defined gold district. Auryn, everybody also remembers a company like Auryn because Ivan Bebek is a very good presenter. You may have recalled his phrase of, we're drilling more meters than any Canadian junior, right, this year. And they are, and the reason that they are is because they spent the last 2 years setting up to have a very strong portfolio. Now, I describe Auryn as an exploration speculation portfolio in a single company. So they have Committee Bay, which has 17 targets. They have Homestake that has really good odds of expansion, and they have 3 really interesting projects in Peru. So that's 5 different opportunities, all being drilled, all within one company. So that's why it's a bit of a portfolio in one. It's a bit expensive because of the team that's with it, but you're getting a lot for what you pay for. Eastmain is the only other company besides Erdene from whom you have not yet heard. They will be up in a moment here. Eastmain is a story of a very strong portfolio of assets in a great, desirable jurisdiction in Quebec that has been revitalized in the last year with new management and new investment. And that new management and new investment is now advancing 2 predominantly projects within the portfolio. One is called Clearwater, great resource that is now being infilled to increase ounces and confidence in advance of a PEA coming out before the end of the year, so great catalyst-driven story there. And then there's the Eastmain Mine project, which is a newly road-accessible historic gold asset, high-grade stuff, a trend along from there that has had little to no exploration. They just announced a new discovery on that 2 days ago. So good technical team, lots of money and lots of activity, so a good catalyst-driven story with Eastmain in a very desirable jurisdiction. Pilot, just heard from them before the break. This is expertise in the Carlin Trend. Not just that, but expertise finding gold in new areas in the Carlin Trend. And Goldstrike is the flagship project there. 12 historic pits, a lot of them really small. They all tapped into one kind of rock that was exposed on surface, but nobody ever tracked that rock where it went underneath other kinds of rock. That's what the team's been working on. They've been having good success with it. But what I really like about Goldstrike is the team has actually been quite constrained the area in which they could work at Goldstrike because of drill permitting and the way it works in Utah. That is about to change. They're about to be able to explore all of Goldstrike, which means this story could really gain momentum a lot this year relative to what it had last year. The assets in Turkey are another potential catalyst for Pilot that should not be ignored. Columbus, also just heard from Columbus. A new addition to the Maven portfolio that I have in there because it seems pretty apparent that catalysts are very likely in the future, by which I mean this feasibility study that Nordgold, the Russian gold mining company, they will produce this feasibility shortly. This feasibility will put this asset on the table for bids. Either Nordgold is going to want Columbus's half of it because Nordgold doesn't build mines with partners, or Nordgold is going to want to make money off of the amount that it's put in there so far, and another major is going to come in and buy out both Nordgold and Columbus's side of it, or some combination of these things. But this is a good asset. This is a 5 million ounce asset that's at a feasibility stage that can produce almost 250,000 ounces of gold a year at good costs. We'll know the details of that when the study comes out, but there's not a lot of assets out there that can answer, that are at that stage and scale This asset will attract interest, and it's going to be on the table. It's basically already in play because this feasibility study that vests Nordgold's interest is imminent. Integra. Integra is, of course, exploring the Lamaque project in Quebec. The thing with Integra is it's exploring, sure, but it could be in production very soon, because they've already done 500 plus meters of underground development so that they can take a bulk sample. They have a mill that's basically ready to go because this is an old mine, and that mill is revamped, ready to go, and they acquired it at an incredibly low cost. The Triangle Zone, their main asset, is shaping up really well. We're going to get the mother of all resource updates, is what I like to call it, in a few months. That's going to incorporate like 70,000 meters of drilling into this asset. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get more confident. And then there's the exploration that's happening on the rest of the property, which is also really interesting. In particular, this Lamaque Deep target. There were two historic mines at Integra. One, the Sigma, went down to 1,800 meters. Lamaque went down to 1,100 meters. There's a bit, and they might even connect, but there's a big question mark. What is going on underneath Lamaque? If Lamaque continues, they're testing that right now with some expensive deep holes. Results from that are imminent in 3 to 4 weeks, and that could add significantly to the story at Integra. NextGen has the Arrow deposit. Arrow is one of the best discoveries of any commodity in the world in the last decade. It is an unreal deposit. It is still growing really quickly. The grade is phenomenal relative to uranium projects in the world. The initial resource is big and high grade, but it's totally out of date because they've done so much drilling, and a lot of the best results from the project to date are not yet included in the resource. So this thing is great, and it's getting better. They have all the money that they need to carry this thing all the way through to feasibility. People like to say, what's the end game for NextGen? Who's going to take them out? They don't actually need anyone to take them out. They're ready to do this on their own. And they're leveraged to uranium when it goes. They're going to have immense leverage to the uranium story when it goes. We don't know exactly when that is, but they're a great bet to have for when that happens. Uranium Energy, the other uranium pick in my portfolio, somewhat opposite in that it's a very low-cost, production-ready story. They have a mill, or a processing facility. They have 5 projects that are a sort of a spoke and hub arrangement around that mill. 3 of those projects are basically permitted and ready to go. 1 has already been in operation. So this is a team that's literally ready to produce mine into the supply gap that is coming. There's no 2 ways about that. The supply gap is absolutely like on its way. And they're unhedged, so they're not already selling uranium at some lower price. They will be able to have full exposure to the price of uranium when it starts to ramp up sometime in the next, I don't know, I don't want to put a time frame on it. Some of us think month, some of us think year. And then the 2 miners, mining companies in the Maven portfolio who are here, Nevsun is one of them. So Nevsun is a very profitable, dividend-paying miner that has exposure to zinc, which is a hard thing to get in mining and is this year going to be very valuable, and has one of the best development projects in the world in the Timok project in Serbia. The Bisha mine, very low cost. They delivered the mine and then 2 expansions on time and under budget. This is a mine that could keep going for a long time because the potential to find additional deposits in this camp, very good. The Timok project was acquired last year. It's incredible. The high-grade upper zone is a very strong asset. And it's important to point out that they were able to get Timok because this company takes care of capital. So they had a $500 million war chest. That's how you're able to acquire an asset like Timok. It's because you're very careful with your money, and then when there's an opportunity, you can go out and go after it and have the money to build it, which is the plan. So if you want capital care, you want a dividend, you want exposure to zinc, and you want a development pipeline, Nevsun offers all of those things. And then Red Eagle, just commissioning the first modern underground gold mine in Colombia. That in itself is a great accomplishment and is a testament to this team's ability to operate in Colombia. Colombia is a functional jurisdiction if you're in the right place and if you approach it in the right way, and that is what this team has done. This mine offers very good economics. 70,000 ounces a year right now is a good number. They can increase that significantly with modest capital inputs because they built the mine so that they could expand. Their all-in sustaining cost is less than $700 an ounce. Great number. That means a 53% after-tax IRR. Very good number. They haven't spent much time exploring outside of their deposit because when you go from discovery to production in 5 years, there's no time to explore a long trend. But they have that time now, so they're exploring along strike to the east. They're exploring another target that's only a few kilometers to the west. They will find more gold. This mine will get bigger, and its cost structure, it's a very economically strong operation. And in terms of right now, I would say Red Eagle entered production just as gold entered its weakness in the latter half of 2016. And Red Eagle has not yet announced that they are in commercial production. They're still in that commissioning phase. So they haven't yet re-rated. They haven't made the jump. So I think right now there's some very good opportunity in Red Eagle to get in before that re-rating jump happens for this miner. So that is what I have to say. Now, I don't know if that was a little fast. Just 15 companies in 15 minutes. But hopefully you had heard most of the stories already, so hopefully there was some familiarity there.